a selection of papers here. Old dictionary, new jelly prints, it's got lovely gold paint on it, music sheets, mass-produced paper, and one of my copied sheets of masterboard. And there's others, there's lots more. These are some of the things that I used to make snippets or toppers, and I'm going to show you some of those now. They come in all shapes and sizes. It depends on how I'm feeling as to what sort of background I use, whether I want to make card ones, paper ones, fabric ones, or a combination. I'm going to show you some fabric examples first. I've got a little pile here of bits and pieces, and what I've done here is I've just laid an offcut of fabric down and then built upon it with other bits of fabric, lace, shears, pictures from fabrics, ribbons, gems, extra lace trim, danglies from another lace. These little bits here are from old pillowcases. Not mine, I hasten to add, but something that I was given to cut up. There's bits of even weave in there, some more even weave in this one, gems. This is lace that I have painted that's in there, and some sheer that's been hit with a heat gun, so it's got some holes in it. Shaped bits from lace that have been cut off. Paper flowers, pearls, ric-rac. Keys, more gems, more coloured lace. This has got card on it, so it's combining the two. More bits of lace with glitter, a raised flower and a key, more lace that's been coloured and extra bling on the top. This was started off with a broad piece of trim. Then I've got some jelly plate, ribbon, fancy lace and a gem, and so it goes on. So there's no reason why you can't use little bits of scrap fabric, lace, ribbon, trim, whatever you fancy you can put together, and somewhere along the line you'll think, well, I need a topper. I'll have a look through my toppers and you may find one there that you need. Got lots of paper examples and I've made them in different ways. These here have started off with just a piece of card or heavy paper on the back, as you can see here. Then I've built them up with more papers, stuck them together. They were made individually, whereas some of the samples that I have, I've made a sheet and then chopped it up, but these were definitely made as individual items and they're all very different. Again, you'll see lace and gems and ribbons and sometimes bulb pins with added trim. Bits of lace that I've cut off from a bigger piece, bits of glitter, buttons, of various types. It's got some hanging bits underneath that lace. Very different, that one, with just the 3 bits of glitter on. You can see that that's got some shiny paint on there. Some of them have got washi tape. These little bits here, the teapots, were all on a washi tape, and I cut them off separately with the lace and the flag and a bit of trim from some ribbon. Another quite simple one, waiting maybe for something else. And this one has got bits of play, map and other paper trims. That's a jelly print, and then the wooden bird on the top. Sometimes I just do a rectangle or a square, and these usually go on top of other things, and then they're put on to greetings cards, as opposed to used in journals or for postcards. I have some more here, and they have been put onto various bits of paper. I've done a sheet of paper for these with music paper on, dictionary paper. This is tissue, old pattern. There's some embossed black and white on there, and then they've got extra things built up on the top that I've made a little handbag for that one, and it's even got a little house inside, which I can't get back in. There we go. They have been made on the top of a sheet like this. And what I do with this is, and a lot of crafters online do the same, you start with various sheets of modern paper. So there's modern French English dictionary, quiz book, I think that's it. There's just the 2 types there, but I've put 2 layers of those. So the first layer, as you can see here, those pages have gone that way, so on the next layer they'll come this way. So I've got a decent background to put on some more interesting papers. Lovely old brown edged sheets. I've got play sheet there, some more dictionary paper from a different one, a piece of paper here that I've actually blotted a stamp off on, a picture from an old book about Devon and Cornwall, more dictionary here. So you get this lovely feel to it, and then that is built upon using laces, like you can see here, laces and other papers. This is a ribbon trim, and so is that. So it's sort of bringing modern to dated. In the background of here there's a recipe from an old recipe book. That is fabric there that I've coloured, that had a texture. There's some linen lace there. So they give you quite a different finish to the ones that I've already shown you. These were built up on music paper. So there's 1 layer of music paper, then I've put strips of bought modern paper, and it's been stitched down, so you've got that extra texture already. So these are waiting for some more work on the top. I may well trim them down or tear them down, whatever, to use for something else. So that's another different way of doing it. I have these here that are from a strip. So these are mainly paper. There are some bits of fabric in there, but it was one long strip initially. So I had this fabric in the background. You see it on the back of all of them. It's been tea dyed or coffee dyed piece of fabric. These things have been put on top, and then I've just machined along top, bottom and middle to catch things on. Quite large pieces, but they may well be cut down again depending on what I need. So they started their life as a roll, but remember, fabric on the bottom, lots of different papers and things on the top. These are purely fabric. So there's a piece of fabric on the back, even weave fabric, which frays really nicely. I have added some other bits of fabric to the back, including bits of lace as well, and made them fray on purpose. And then on the other side I've got various bits of lace and ribbon, ticking fabric. These are absolutely gorgeous. I love using these. So there's that one with some hints of blue. I have several others in different colours. I've got this one out as well to show you. This one's got pinks and lilacs in it, with a little bit of sparkly ribbon, all ready for me to cut up and use in other projects. Or if I wanted to add some hand stitch and make this the centre of a piece of art. So toppers, snippets, focal points like these can be made in advance, ready for use on top of your work. I wanted to show you these as well. Years ago I made some black and white papers for City and Guild's design and embroidery, and I got them out and I combined them with some bought papers and some old paper, some tissue paper, and then added bits of fabric, buttons, 3D butterflies, lace flowers, whatever I fancied. This is from an old needlework book on here, with a piece of lace over the top. That probably needs something else on there. But from this backing, this black and white backing with some old papers, there's such a diverse collection of colour that you can put on to make a lot of varying snippets or toppers for your work. So that sheet there was the most recent one that I did, and I got some lovely results, and some of them are stunning. Anything that's too fat though would be difficult to put inside something, so they're definitely needed for surface things like postcards. Some may only have a little bit of extra on. I might add more, or I might just keep it simple. Glitter, embossed surfaces, lots of interesting pieces here. And it's so easy to do. If you've got scrap bits, keep them, put them in a box, and then just do it the easy way with a piece of card or paper in the background and build it up and put a little bit of glitter on. These pieces here, I've shown you these, haven't I? Where I did it in a strip. It's a strip of tea-dyed fabric, and it wasn't going to be used for anything else, so I just built these upon it. So anything goes, really. Just have fun with it. But you'll find you'll use lots and lots of glue. And paper glue is usually sufficient, especially if you're going to give it some stitching. If you are using fabric to fabric, then you'll probably need a fabric glue. Although sometimes I've just used stick, especially when I'm going to sew over the top and only a little bit of glue in the middle of something, so that then you know for sure that you're not going to clag your machine up by sewing along the edges. So just thought I'd share those snippets with you, and I will show you how I use them on top of other things in the next segment of the video. Excuse me, just bending down to get things, because I wanted to show you these as well. What I've done here is taken lace, buttons, ribbon, sometimes shears that I've cut sections out of, and made these, I suppose, rosettes you would call them. It's just a combination of different bits of fabrics. That was certainly a trim on a dress that was left over, so you know it's been cut into a strip. I have lots of ribbons that have got patterns on them. The music one looks quite good on there. Then I've sewn them together at the top and sewn the flower on. These are really nice to make as well, and you can get such a variety of finishes depending on the colours that you use, whether it's going to be sparkly, whether it's going to look more vintage. It's also a way to use up those buttons that you might not have a reason for. So these are lovely to use as well, and I often put them into journals to finish off a page, or to use as a bookmark. Lots and lots of those in there, varying shapes and sizes and colours and textures and materials. And I don't even need to show you how to make those. You just get bits of trim, you join it at the top with a couple of stitches, then add a button or a fabric flower with a little button in the middle, or a fabric flower without a button in the middle. They're so easy. And sometimes when you're using lace and ribbon, you get little bits left over. So just keep them and make some pretties like this. them away and get on with the next part of the video. Recognise these? These are the cards that I started with in a previous section of the video. The background, as I described it, was rather fussy, and I decided that I was going to have to use some dramatic pieces over the top. And let me remind you that anything that we build upon is background, so it doesn't matter if you cover things over. But I make different choices. I said to you that I preferred this bit over here in the original, but as time has gone on and I've built it up, and I chose this tag with the music on, which echoes this a little bit, and good things take time with the black border to bring out the black here. I preferred it that way around. You can change your mind, and it's something that happens to me all the time. I told you about this one, that I was going to put it onto black fabric, and I found you didn't come this far to only come this far to go on there with it, and I also surrounded it in black fabric, or backed it with black fabric, and I think that works the way it is. And then this one, I had mounted it onto the maroon card just to frame it a little bit, and found Hope and did the same at the top and changed it. To be honest, I've forgotten exactly what I said because I'm constantly changing my mind. So there we have 3 cards that are finished, ready to use. If you remember as well, I made some masterboards. I love this one, this brown one. It's one of my favourites that I've made, I think. And yes, there's a lot going on there, but it's what you can see into that and what you can do with a copy from it. With the chunky sections on, it's going to be difficult to cut anyway, so it's advisable to copy it. Unfortunately, the copier was running out of ink, so I've got this sort of pink tinge to my cards. I managed to take 4 cards from it, and I ended up with these extra pieces that I'll use somewhere else. That one probably as a tag. These two, 3 are probably a little bit thin for that, but they can be torn up and used elsewhere. I don't think I showed you me making this one, but it's another one of the painted backgrounds, and this one's got 3 or 4 different colours of pink, as well as an iridescent in there, and all I did was tore up some jelly plate and some bought fabrics. Already had the stamping on there, and I've managed to get a couple of spare bits. One will be a tag, the other will be reused, and I've got these sections of cards because I printed it twice, so I ended up with bits from different sections. And I left the white on purpose. If you colour this white already, then you're stuck with it. So when I printed it, I went over the white on here with a light pink distress ink, just to knock that white back, and you can probably see the difference here. It gives you the flexibility of doing other things. Leave them the way they are until you know what you want to do with them. The white piece I showed you earlier, this was the original black and white piece that I did. I had lots of copies, if you remember, because I needed sections for ATC cards. So I decided to make some postcards just out of those copies, as well as tearing them up to make a new masterboard. So I have this piece here, needs sticking down there, with just some little bits of blue on. It's still mainly black and white. I did some copies of that and used some sections that are now ready for further work. If you remember this one, I said I'd had to knock the colour back, and I'd put a mix of white gesso and distressing, very little distressing mixed in with it to go over the top. Gives it a chalky feel. But I cut some pieces out. You see that bit went there originally, and decided on dressing them up in this particular way. So that will have that down there. Actually, I'll move this and then you haven't got the confusing background. That will go down there. I decided that I wanted to use one of my blue snippets, a black and white snippet with blue on it, and I wanted to try and keep it low down so that we could still see that butterfly in the background. And then I've got, at some point in life, the world's beauty becomes enough to go on there. So it's not quite straight, but it will be when I glue it down. So that was that one. I got another one, because remember, they're just A4 copies, and this one I wanted to use this green snippet. I didn't like that black down there, so I was going to cover it over with a bit of sparkle. Top, the world is but a canvas for our imagination, and at the bottom I've got this lovely sheer with gold stars on. Sorry, that's where that goes, over the top of that, and then there's that, just that little ticket to go to the top. Told you I forget. Changed my mind, but no, that's the way I wanted it. And I managed to get a tag out of it too. So I've put some washi tape with butterflies on. There's a butterfly shape here, and one of my new snippets that I've just made in the middle. Then of course it'll have a hole in and ribbon at the top. Just to finish off, just to talk about postcards in general and fabric, paper and card postcards, you can start with anything really. I've talked about jelly prints. Well, there's a couple there using the same stencil and stamp but with different colours. They both have a little bit of glimmer in the background. This is a stencil over the top of a stencil, and it's called a ghost print. This is the second print I took off the plate, so the first one will have been a lot brighter. So sometimes you can get two, but again they're very different because of the level of paint that's there. This one uses the same stencil but in a different way, and I've got my stamp, homemade stamp, if you can see it in the background in the shimmer. This is another one with a bit of shimmer in the background, and then the black and white from my foam stamp on the top. These two have just lots of layers. I forget sometimes how many layers there are, but it's colour over colour and stencil over stencil. Perhaps not the best of the things that I've done, but you know, I can still use them. And they're probably better than this because this is rubbish. Literally, it would have gone in the bin, but I looked at it and saw this lovely sheen here. The piece of paper was being used to blot stencils on, and I had something else on it and I was spraying. So this is all overspray from the piece that I was actually spraying. And I thought, well, I'm sure I can find something to do with that. This is brochure. Some of you may have heard of it, others not. But brochure, they're little crystals of pigment, and you can either drop them onto a wet surface or drop them onto a dry surface and wet them, and then just watch the magic. They burst open and the colour moves, and each particular colour is made up of lots of little different bits of pigment. So for example, if you can see here, there's a little bit of orange which was in the turquoise. It's not a mistake, it was there. And there's a little bit of red here that was in the purple, and there's more there that's been diluted further. Some lovely effects from that, and I'll show you how to use it in a later video. Let me just say, some of these things are expensive, but if you like the look of something, it's an investment. What I do is I go back to things over and over again, so they do get used, but it doesn't cost you anything to tear a book up. So, you know, that's a good background as a start. And if you've got bits of bought papers, there's no reason why you can't use some of those as a background. And yeah, that background can be the same as another piece cut from the same piece of paper, but it's what you do with it. What you would do with it would be very different to what I would do with it, and depends on what you can see in it and what materials you have that you could possibly use. These things are great. I get a lot of fun out of making them. I get a lot of fun out of thinking of different backgrounds and how they're going to go together. And I hope that during the course of this very long video that you have picked up some tips that you can use in your own work. Please, if you've got any questions, put them into the comments, and I'd love you to like and share and subscribe to my channel. That would be great. Cheerio. Bye.